Why does a normal room suddenly feel suspicious the second the lights go off?
Because right now in the dark, your brain is looking at a chair and genuinely weighing two options. Could be laundry, could be death. I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of having to guess. Here's the sneaky part. Darkness doesn't actually add anything to the room. The chair is still a chair. The coat is still a coat. It's the same hallway you walked through 40 seconds ago with heroic confidence. But the second the lights go out, your brain, am suddenly working with terrible evidence. And when I don't have enough information, I do something deeply annoying. I start filling in the blanks. So tonight, we're skipping the kid version. Why are you scared of the dark? And asking the stranger one, why does your fully grown adult brain take one look at an empty dark room and quietly file it under possible threat? Stick with me. By the end, you'll know exactly what's waiting in the dark. And it isn't a monster.
So that's why the jacket on the chair becomes a person?
Exactly. You turn off the light. You start walking to bed. Something creaks. The corner of the room looks occupied. And suddenly, I'm not casually managing your evening anymore. I'm running a tiny security department with no budget and bad cameras. Your eyes send me a blurry shape. Your ears send me a vague sound. Your memory whispers, "Didn't we watch that one horror movie in 2016? And I say, "Great, nobody move."
But why does darkness make normal things look wrong?
Because your eyes are brilliant, but they are not magic. In bright light, you get detail, edges, color, texture. You can see that the thing on the chair is denim, not a crouching man reconsidering his life choices. But in low light, your visual system changes strategy. It becomes better at detecting faint light and movement, but worse at fine detail and color. So the world gets downgraded. It's like switching from a crystal clear photo to a grainy security camera clip from 1998. And here's where I come in. I don't passively receive reality. I interpret it. I compare what your senses are giving me with what I already know about the world. In daylight, the evidence is rich enough that I can say, "Relax, chair." In darkness, the evidence says, "Tallish, blob near wall." And I have to choose chair, person, coat, creature from the unpaid electricity bill.
That seems dramatic.
I'm a brain. Drama is one of my emergency settings. The important point is this. In the dark, fear often starts as a perception problem. Not because you're weak, not because you're silly, because your brain is trying to build a full picture from partial data. The room didn't become dangerous. It became incomplete.
Fine. But incomplete doesn't have to mean scary. Why don't you just guess laundry and let me sleep?
Because I am biased. Not always fairly, not always helpfully, but for understandable reasons. When information is poor, I tend to treat possible danger as more important than possible comfort. Think of it this way. If I mistake a coat for a person, you feel embarrassed for 3 seconds. If I mistake a person for a coat, that could go rather badly. So yes, I would rather make you feel ridiculous than make you available as a snack. Now, people often jump from here to, evolution. Our ancestors feared the dark because predators. Maybe that is a reasonable part of the story. Humans rely heavily on vision, and night would have made hazards harder to detect. So a cautious bias in darkness could have been useful. But let's not turn that into a cartoon. Your fear of the dark is not explained by one ancient leopard hiding behind every curtain. It is also shaped by your memories, your culture, your sleep state, your stress level, your imagination, and whatever terrifying podcast you decided to play before bed, because apparently peace was too easy. Evolution may have loaded the dice. Life teaches me what to roll them toward.
So the dark doesn't just hide things. It gives your threat system room to improvise.
Yes, and unfortunately, I am a gifted improviser. A sound in daylight is just the house settling. A sound in darkness becomes, "What was that?" And notice that phrase. What was that? Not, "That is danger." Not even, "That is a burglar." Just, "What was that?" That tiny unanswered question is enough to wake the whole system.
But here's the part I don't get. I can know nothing is there and still feel scared. I can literally say, it's just a coat, while my body prepares to fight the coat.
That's because fear is not a polite debate. It doesn't wait for a full report. A lot of your threat response is built for speed. Your body can start preparing before your conscious mind has finished explaining. Heart rate changes, muscles tense, attention narrows, hearing feels sharper, the room becomes a map of possible problems. And then your logical mind arrives late, holding a clipboard saying, actually, statistically, too late. The body has already voted.
So logic is useless.
No, logic is useful. It's just not always first. Think of it like this. If you hear a crash downstairs at 2 a.m., I do not begin with a calm essay titled Possible Causes of Domestic Noises. I begin with up. Then later, maybe, we discover the cat has once again declared war on gravity. But in the moment, the fear is not just a thought. It is a prediction your body is preparing for. That's why darkness feels so powerful. It doesn't merely remove visual detail. It changes the balance between the outside world and the inside world. With less information coming in, imagination gets louder. Old memories get louder. Stories get louder. That one shadow gets promoted to case file.
So I'm not afraid because I believe there's a monster. I'm afraid because you can't fully rule one out.
Now we're getting somewhere.
But then, what's the deepest trick? What is the dark actually doing to me?
It traps you at a threshold. That's the real creepiness. Not total ignorance, not clear danger. A threshold, almost seeing, almost hearing, almost recognizing. The shape in the corner is not invisible. If it were totally invisible, there'd be nothing for me to grab onto. And it's not clearly visible. If it were clear, I could close the file. Chair, coat, laundry, humiliating, but harmless. No, the scariest thing is the almost, the maybe shape, the half sound, the doorway that is not empty enough to ignore, but not clear enough to understand. That is where I get stuck, because my job is to complete patterns, to finish the sentence, to turn fragments into meaning. And darkness gives me fragments that refuse to finish. This is why a shadow can be scarier before you turn on the light than after. If there really were a spider or a person or a weird object, at least the mystery would collapse into a fact. A fact can be dealt with. A maybe keeps multiplying.
So the monster isn't the shadow.
Right. The monster is the open tab. It's the unfinished prediction. It's the brain stuck hovering between safe and not safe, unable to click either one. That's why checking helps. You turn on the light and the threshold closes. The coat becomes a coat. The hallway becomes a hallway. The monster becomes cotton polyester blend. And I, your brain, pretend I was calm the whole time. So next time the room changes, after the lights go out, remember, the dark didn't add a monster. It just handed your brain a blank space and said, guess.
So what should people answer today?
Tell me this. What ordinary object has your brain turned into a threat in the dark? A coat, a chair, a pile of laundry, or something more embarrassing? And subscribe, because next time I want to show you another trick I pull on you. Why your brain can hear your name in a noisy room. And while you're here, tap the next video. It explains why your brain sees faces in things that absolutely do not have faces.